All right, welcome to Out of the Blue from the Block M Podcast Network, part of the Fan First Sports Network. There are thousands of podcasts out there. This is one of them, and it inspired Genuine to write his hit track, Pony. I am Jared Stormer of the Block M Podcast Network and MaizenBrew.com. With me, as always, is Andy Bailey, my hetero life mate of the same place and time. Andy Bailey, a man that makes no sense. Compels me, though. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, brother. I'm really good, actually. Peak Tour de France right now, so, I'm just knee-deep in cycling content, and no one cares about that. And a new Clips album came out, so I've had a great weekend.
And you are currently the content faucet, and you overfloweth with the amount of content you're working on right now. No off-season for the wicked. I love it, man. What do we got coming from you over on MaizenBrew.com? Great website.
Check out, I have a hockey article came out today talking about Brandon Arata roster construction after missing out on Gavin McKenna, whether it was a miss or if there was a little more intention behind it. A ton of football stuff coming, man. Got a lot of things in the till right now, working through some historical stuff, working on some stuff for the pod. We have Big Ten over-unders on the horizon. We have team previews coming up. So really, really getting excited for the season, man.
Yes, and we are still working through our position previews. We will round those out as well. Might have to start doing some twice a weeks in order to get everything in.
Don't tip me with a good time. I'll go 3 times a week, damn it. I'll wake up and pod in the morning.
Brother, you think I'm not there with you? Let's go. Don't threaten me with a good time. But yes, this week we have receivers. Should be an interesting conversation. I don't want to tip my cap too much there. But let's, before we get into that, touch the banner with some quick hits here. Had a basketball commitment since we last spoke. 7'3". Marcus Moeller. That is a large human being. So obviously a point guard. Gonna be running point for us at 7'3", but he's out of Denmark. He's on the U18 Eurobasket team, and he's got a decent sample size there, averaging 13 points, 7 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.7 blocks per game, shooting 55% from the field and 33.3% from three. So an interesting player, kind of built in that modern big mold. There's some size coming to Ann Arbor, that's for sure, though. I'm surprised Purdue let this guy get away.
I was going to say, who's Purdue's basketball coach again?
Isn't it Painter?
Yeah, Matt Painter. Yeah, I was going to say, did Dusty May and Matt Painter have to have, fisticuffs in a parking lot and determine who gets this guy? And if that doesn't decide it, there's a sack race held on every third Thursday of the month, and that person gets Marcus Moeller. Felt kind of like that. Felt like they were in a heated competition to get him. I love Michigan landing him. You can kind of see the transition plan. He's a part of the 26 class, right? He won't be on this year's team?
Correct. Yeah, this isn't for this year's team. So this is down the road. But, if you can keep McKinney around and all of a sudden you see the bones of that next big group.
Yeah, I love it and love adding the extra height. And, dude, we saw the video of Mara, the UCLA transfer, running this week in some of the highlights. Oh, boy. Looks very fluent out there. And we also heard rumors of he and Yaxel working on a 4-5 pick and roll, kind of keep that action going. The next evolution post Vlad and Dan Wolf. I'm getting really excited for this basketball season. As much as I've been just grinding on football this summer, I have to start adding in a little basketball.
We share that sentiment. This is going to be a very, very fun team. Mitch Moeller not a part of that, but nonetheless, a lot of size, a lot of versatility. My kind of ball club, Charlie. With the selection of Mitch Voigt in the MLB draft, Michigan becomes the first team ever to have players drafted in the first round of the MLB, NBA, NFL, and NHL draft in the same year. So just an everything school, not just a football school, just across the board, just a program.
Is that good? Is that what school should aspire to do?
Good. Good.
It's awesome, man. I didn't know how the baseball team was doing from afar. Don't follow them as closely, especially after the coach left a few years ago to head to Clemson. But this is joyous news. Good for him going to the Mets. I wish him nothing but the worst with the Mets, but glad he's a pro.
And this was the guy that did the Bolivian marching powder celebration on the third baseline that went pretty viral and went viral again after he got drafted. That's Mitch Voigt.
I bet he was also enjoying the Clips album this weekend.
It's a deep cut, but I know exactly what you mean. Look, Mitch Voigt likes to party, and I think he'll enjoy himself in New York. They were super excited as soon as they saw that celly. And it is, let's be real, that is an elite celly.
Anybody that hates that just hates fun. Like, they just
Yeah.
don't enjoy a good time. Like, that's awesome. It was electric. Everyone loves it and shares it. Like, is it a little silly and childish? Yeah, but that's great. Every great thing is.
Every great thing is silly and childish. That's a great take. Everything I like is dumb in some way, shape, or form.
I'm letting my mood be dictated by teenagers every other season. Like, I understand
dumb.
what
I
dumb
get
is.
This is not done. Kobe Buffkin resurgence season? Question mark. In the summer league, which is where true sickos go to watch their basketball right now in the off season. Kobe Buffkin for Atlanta, 29 points, 15 of 15 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Just been having health issues, so if he can get back and stay on the court, an already like really improved Atlanta team is just going to be even deeper if Kobe Buffkin can contribute. And it's big for the pod because our football predictions in the NFL a little bit harder. I can't say we're batting 100%. We're close to batting 100% in our basketball takes about the guys we think will work out, the guys that we don't. And Kobe Buffkin is kind of the one miss right now, and it's just because of health issues. But like, I think we were both in on Kobe Buffkin as a pro, if I remember.
Now, have you worked this out to how he becomes a Piston?
I've done some math. I've got Venn diagrams with just strings and tacks in my wall. It's very doable. It's not as difficult as some like Franz Wagner to Detroit. I can't get the arithmetic there, but Kobe Buffkin, we could get there.
And I think the Hawks are going to be good. I mean, you know way more about the NBA than me, but this team has really overhauled its roster, and it would be just so cool to see Buffkin be a part of that.
Yeah, yep. So I'm pulling for him to have a good year as much as their direct competition for the Pistons this year. Sir, Sherrone Moore interview, some nuggets in there. Talk to me about it.
Like, I had to put this part at the top because it's just fantastic, and it relates directly to our podcast. Actually, let me say, when we have Sherrone on the pod, we're not even going to talk ball. We're just going to talk movies. Because apparently during the bye week before Northwestern, he showed this team a clip from a movie. Now, I know what you're thinking. Was it Any Given Sunday? Was it Remember the Titans? Are they going to remember the night they played the Titans? No, it was none of that. He showed him a clip from Scarface, Brian De Palma's masterpiece, the clip where Tony's looking up at the blimp and it says, "The world is yours," to tell them that the past is the past and everything's in front of you. Letting you know no matter where you came from, you can still take everything in front of you. And inspired the team to take Northwestern. It helped taking play calling away from certain individuals, and then inspired this team to win at Ohio State. So I love that nugget, man. Like, I've heard about coaches using movies. Like, we know Land Danning at Oregon used Gladiator like ad nauseum this season. But to use Scarface, that's next level motivation.
That is, and quite a few cocaine references already 20 minutes in.
I was going to say, was the baseball player watching it too?
That's abnormally high for this podcast, but great film. Is it a little overrated? I don't think it's De Palma's best, but I do really like that movie. I don't think it's De Palma's best, but
what's your favorite De Palma movie?
That's a really good. I have recently watched Mission Impossible, and I think that is like a masterpiece. Blowout is really good. Carlito's Way, I'll go with right now. I just recently watched that. I'm like, this movie goes. I think I like Carlito's Way more than Scarface.
I think my thing with Scarface, it's kind of like one of those things you and I often talk about where fans take it for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
That's the thing. But if like you watch it, it's like, man, this movie is slick.
It's good.
There is so much 80s style in that. So love that. But some of the meat and potatoes of the interview, actually, I really want to get your thoughts on were position battles, mainly on the offensive line. So Sherrone updated us on the position battle at left tackle. Said it's Evan Link and Andrew Babalola battling it out with Blake Frazier right behind them. And at right guard, it seems like it's Nathan Afobe in the lead right now with Jake past the Guaranero sauce and Lawrence Hayter right behind him. What do you think about that?
Like I said, I mean, I've said it once, I've said it a million times on this podcast. This is where all my nerves start and end for this team. Like, we have got to get this ironed out. And I don't know, maybe Jake Guaranara is the chosen one at guard, and like I shouldn't be worried about that, but I'd like to see one of these young guys come up and really take a hold of one of these position battles right now. Link Babs on the left-hand side there, I feel pretty good about whoever emerges from that. True freshman Andy Babs, With true freshman Bryce Underwood, there's some decision paralysis back there. There could be some early growing pains. You toss that out against Brent Venables in Oklahoma. That's a lot of youth out there. So I'd probably prefer if it were Link Afobe, just because you get a little bit more starting experience there. But yeah, we've got to get this sorted out. I think it's the biggest non-quarterback discussion left on this roster. We're going to talk receivers today. That's certainly in conversation there,
yeah,
but just a totally different level to me, because the amount these guys are going to be relied upon, and without the ability to have an A+, A- offensive line, it's the same as last year. I don't know how this offense can really get rolling in the kind of way we're hoping it will.
Let's also factor in, though, that improved quarterback play and play calling can help a bad offensive line. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that last year. So I wrote in a question to Todd McShay in his podcast asking, how is Michigan's offensive line able to have dominance from 21 to 23, including back-to-back Joe Moore awards, with only having one player drafted in the top 100 from that line? And that was Zach Zinter in the 80s. And he said, it's a lot of them working together. They were very dominant in the run, not good against the pass, but they were helped out by play calling, quarterback play, and an elite running back. If you have that together, those can help an offensive line as it takes time to grow and mold and work together. And having a head coach and a play caller that understands that and a competent quarterback, I think that's going to help this group a lot and not just expose as many of those flaws as we saw early last season.
I like that. I like that you getting some help from McShay to answer our questions for this podcast. Doing the work. A little surprised that Lawrence Attar hasn't kind of asserted himself a little bit more.
He's in the mix there.
He's in the mix, but I mean, having his name mentioned third, this can change too. We have seen early summer projections change and be completely inaccurate come fall as well. So, like, nothing that we're seeing right now should be written in pen or even in pencil, because it might get moved over the course of this week, where there's still a lot happening there. But yeah, very interesting position group, I think, for the sickos, and really not even the sickos, just like big Michigan fans. This is where you should be looking, is like what's going on this offensive line.
Sherrone also updated us on, I didn't put it in the doc, on Cole Sullivan's size right now.
Tell me about it.
Apparently floating around 6'5", 240, and is an absolute freak show. And also, he's still fourth in the linebacker room because Jimmy Rolder was, quote, dominant in the spring now that he's finally healthy.
6'5", 240? Good God, man.
Yeah.
That's a water buffalo.
This adds really well to our linebacker conversation last week of, like, just having him in the mix. Like, Sherrone, talked, a lot about how he's a freak, how Rolder's playing so well, and just how deep that room is.
Love that room. Yeah, I was on a Georgia podcast last night trying to talk up just how good our front seven could be, and they're like, who's a guy that, like, only the sickos know? And Cole Sullivan was the guy. I was just like, Cole Sully, keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on that guy. That was before I heard that size. That is egregious. My goodness. Love to hear that. In that same interview, also compared Donovan McCulley to Nico Collins. That'll make you adjust the britches, and if it doesn't, get new britches.
My favorite thing he said was talking about the spring. Said the guy that stood out most was McCulley, and people didn't get to see that much in the spring game, and that was on purpose, is what Sherrone said. And I love that gamesmanship and just keeping that in the back pocket. Like, no, we don't need to show this yet. We don't need to show this yet. And we're going to talk about McCulley here in a few minutes, but like, lots of like in his game, and you're starting to see like the evolution of the room and all the pieces around, or like what can really help a young quarterback and help a young offensive line.
Yeah, and we will keep that in the back pocket because we've got a whole receivers discussion here. Anything else from Sherrone Moore, or just in general from this last week that you wanted to touch on?
Trying to think if anything else happened. Sherrone, talked about Zeke Berry. Said, watch out for Zeke, gonna be a guy. Talked about Barham just being a freak. Said he's the most physically gifted linebacker we've ever had at Michigan, pretty much. Which, again, stuff we already know there. And Bryce Underwood's 230 pounds now.
Saw that. That was the last bit that I wanted to get to there. Yeah, the fact that Bryce Underwood's up to 230. Is it getting borderline unhealthy, the expectations that we have for a freshman quarterback right now?
Yes. It is. It is insane. Looking to be only the fourth true freshman starting quarterback in Michigan history, the first since Tate Forcier. But I know it hurts to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I'm trying to like reserve myself, but like we don't need him to be Jesus on the field. We just need him to be a game manager, and this team is going to be elite. That's what gets me so excited.
Yep, and the running game has to be more consistent and improved, so that goes into the conversation we were just having about the offense.
Which also helps if you have a quarterback that can complete a pass.
It's all tied together. It's all synonymous. And look, is it unhealthy to be this excited and to have this much faith in a true freshman quarterback? Maybe. But it's also unhealthy to go to Olive Garden and just live off of the unlimited breadsticks, and I do that once a week.
You were at Applebee's when some news broke one time and you ran to your house to do a podcast? Right? I was at Applebee's having lunch. I'm like, were you really? Was this just a bit? You're like, no, I was really there. Like, I can't pass up that savings.
The savings are incredible. It's cheaper than McDonald's now. I am pro Applebee's. I'll tell you what right now. You go in, you get a beer, you get a nice chicken sandwich, decent set of fries, $14.99 after tax. Come on now.
I'm a big Dollarita guy myself. I mean, going to the savings there. I mean, you take a $5 in there, you're not walking out.
I'll tell you what, I've been wheeled out of more Applebee's than I care to comment on. I can't even go into any of the ones in the Midwest anymore, but that's how you know that you're having a good time. Speaking of having a good time, I think we got to get into some receivers, and I don't know if this is going to be a good time or not. This is going to be an interesting discussion. I don't think we have really talked about the receiver group just because there's so many other groups that we're higher on, but this has to be an improved group. It needs to be an improved group after last year, but there's once again so much that goes into that discussion. It's kind of a nuanced discussion because of how bad some other things on the offense were. So let's get into this, man. The wide receiver room for the Michigan Wolverines in 2025. What are your thoughts?
Question marks everywhere. There's a ton of question marks. You don't really have a place to start because it begins with just speculation. But I want to propose this to you to start the conversation. Rank your top 5 in the room right now. Your top 5.
Well,
like, who you think is going to be the best? Like, go ahead.
Number 1 is with a bullet, right? It's McCulley. It's not just what Sherrone Moore was saying about him being like Nico Collins. We thought that just based off his Indiana tape.
Yeah.
Just coming in, we're like, this guy's better than anybody we've got on the roster. We're hoping for big leaps from other guys that we haven't seen yet. McCulley already, if he didn't improve at all this offseason, would be the best on this roster. So with a bullet, McCulley number 1.
I broke down his tape earlier this year. Go find that, check it out, amazingbrew.com. He's a big body possession receiver. Like, he's not going to take the top off the defense, but he's such a reliable target. And I think he's going to be invaluable for Underwood because, like, he just knows how to get his numbers to a quarterback so they can make easy throws. And I think McCulley, being a former quarterback, really understands that. He understands coverages really well, knows how to find soft spots in zones. He's kind of like a Costco Anquan Bolden. Like, he's going to work in the middle. He's going to do some dirty work. He has a big catch radius, but like he's a chain mover. Like, and he's a red zone threat with his jump ball ability. But like, he's not going to take the top off. But I think he's going to eat up numbers on this in this passing attack.
That's interesting because I went with like Cornelius Johnson if he took the ooze from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and just was like a better version of Cornelius.
He's
Johnson,
not as fast,
but like. No, but I mean, is he as strong as Nico? Like, for what? I mean, Sherrone would know to compare him to Nico Collins, but I just don't know that he's going to go up and body people like Nico would in that Shea Patterson year, where it was just he's going up, getting that ball because he is bigger, stronger than the other guy. If McCulley is that's an awesome outlet for a true freshman quarterback to just be able to put it kind of up there and let your guy go up and get it, regardless of where he's at on this made-up spectrum that we've come up with of different player comps. He's number 1 with a bullet. He's an exciting player. He gives the room a proven commodity, an adult in the room, an actual receiving threat. How big of a receiving threat he is, Jeremiah Smith, he is not. Let me just go ahead and get that one out there. Like, he's not going to be on that level of a guy, but he's a dude that you can rely on, and Michigan needed that for sure in this room.
Yeah, he is a target that's going to get open. He's big-bodied. He understands zones and everything, and I think that's going to be just a massive help to this offense just to move the ball consistently. Who's your number 2?
Throw the names, like throw the Scrabble tiles into a thing, shake it up, and just pull it out and see what you get after that, because it's anybody's guess. I'll go Frederick Moore, Samaj Morgan.
Please don't be
Kendrick
the exact
Bell.
same.
I hope not, but I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do here? This is all just speculation. Like, if you want to put Samaj Morgan at 2, fine. I'm a little down on him from where I was in the spring game draft after rewatching a couple games from last year. Just disappears too often. And I think Freddie Moore might be ascending while Samaj is slightly either plateaued or descending. But other than that, I don't have like huge thoughts. Is it a Kendrick Bell season? Maybe I'm a little higher on him now than I used to be too, but none of these guys like excite me.
Yeah, the rest of the room for the listeners, really the players, I'm not going to name every receiver on this roster. I mean, apologies to Logan Forbes, are Frederick Moore, Samaj Morgan, Kendrick Bell, Amarian Stewart, Channing Goodwin, Andrew Marsh, Jamar Browder, Peyton O'Leary, Anthony Simpson, C.J. Charleston, and Joe Taylor. Yeah, those are names. I put ones on there that have catches or have played snaps and things like that. You forget Joe Taylor had a catch in the bowl game. Like, they ran the Sark screen for him. Like,
okay. Every
time Joe Taylor makes a play, I feel like I'm at my house yelling like in White Men Can't Joke. I'm like, Opie piston on you! That's what I'm screaming when Joe Taylor's making plays. But, I mean, he's more of a special teams ace anyway. But the rest of the room, man, I'm very similar to you. I think Frederick Moore is second. I think he is ascending in this room. He had that awesome touchdown catch against Alabama. I mean, it was one of Davis Warren's best throws of the season, but he goes up, high points it, gets a foot in bounds, and scores the touchdown. Tremendous play. And I think he can take the top off the defense. I think he has that kind of speed. I think he adds that element, which this team so desperately needs.
Yeah, I'm with you there on just like the way that he's trending, the way he ended the season, and the way that Samaj Morgan just had kind of a lost season last year, to be honest. I know he was kind of the preordained, the one that we were all really excited about, but whatever happened last season, whether it was between the ears or if it was just not a good fit with what we were doing on offense, let's see the Chip Lindsey piece of this. Like, maybe there's one of these guys that Chip Lindsey is more like, okay, I can use that guy. That guy makes sense for what we're trying to do with Bryce Underwood. And even that, saying that out loud, has me thinking Freddie Moore more than Samaj Morgan at number 2. So I'm feeling pretty good, especially having this conversation with you. I'm talking myself into it a little bit more. What about Kendrick Bell at 3? Any chance of that? Or if it's not him, Marsh and Browder are 2 guys that I'd like to at least discuss a little bit in this conversation as guys that I think have a chance to be better than almost any of these dudes on the roster.
Let's stay on Samaj for a second. And let's go back to the Rose Bowl. And you look at that game plan. The offensive game plan, especially the passing attack, was largely built around a true freshman in Samaj. Like, that's how much they thought about him. That's how much he was excelling in that offense. And he's spoken publicly about his issues with Kirk Campbell's play calling. Like, how he kind of used him more as a gadget guy. And he's like, I'm just not that type of receiver. Like, I need to be out in routes and working this and doing that. And that kind of gave me pause and brought me back to that moment. Like, okay, like, we've seen the flashes. Like, was he just chronically misused by a play caller that didn't know what he was doing? Like, Samaj stuck around the program. He didn't leave. He could have. We know that much. So he stuck around. I don't think we can put him any lower than 3 on this list, just based on that. Like, having a Rose Bowl passing attack designed around your production, like when Roman Wilson's on the team, speaks to the potential he has still.
Yeah, and he still might have a higher ceiling than anybody not named Andrew Marsh on the roster. It's entirely possible. Like, I'd be very interested to see, and this feels like one early on we're going to get an idea. If we're seeing some stuff being designed for Samaj Morgan week 1, week 2, I think that'll tell you everything that you need to know about how he was being used last year and how they envision him this year. Can you get him on end arounds? Is he a little faster than Freddie Moore? It seems like it on tape, but I don't have those numbers in front of me.
I think Moore. It's just a guess at this point. I think Moore might be, but I mean, half dozen the other way.
It's close.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you got those 2 guys that can take the top off of defenses. Neither one is very big. You see a concentrated effort with Michigan in their recruiting efforts to kind of change up the type of body that they're putting out there at the receiver position, but still having both Freddie Moore and Samaj Morgan on this roster this year. They're going to be relied upon. Like we said, it's almost with a bullet, McCulley as your number 1 option, but you're going to need these other guys. You're going to need a different look out there. The ability to stretch the field, something we know Chip Lindsey likes to do, whether or not he wants to do that year 1, but go back and watch some of the Drake May year with Chip Lindsey about how he likes to take the top off of defense and what that'll do to help your run game if you have to honor Samaj Morgan and Freddie Moore streaking down the field. So the more we talk about it, the more I get intrigued, but it'd be impossible to look at that top 3 and be like, yes, an elite group that's ready to like dominate the Big Ten. It's just not that.
What I like about the room is the versatility. It feels like it's some of the parts is greater, the sum is greater than the parts, where it's like, okay, we need to have receivers out there that can block for this run play. Okay, CJ Charleston, Peyton O'Leary, maybe even a Joe Taylor, they're going to get out there and stick their nose into it. All right, we need to get the passing attack going. It's like, all right, let's get McCulley out there, let's get Fred Moore out there, let's get Samaj out there. They can just deploy these different looks, and similar to like rotations on the defensive line and the back end, I think they can do that depending on matchups and set things up that way. But also we know they're not just going in there to solely block and have no hands like a Nate Shanley tight end. Anytime he was in the game, you knew they were running the football. We know Peyton O'Leary can catch. He had arguably the biggest catch of the year last season against Ohio State. CJ Charleston been around the game for I think 6 years now. Like, he's caught some passes in his time, and I think that's good, and I think that's going to be really valuable for this team. But overall, big picture, I think this season signifies the beginning of the changing of the guard in the room. With a quarterback like Bryce Underwood, Sherrone is adding pro-style receivers to match his pro-ready quarterback. You see it with Jamar Browder. You see it with Andy Marsh. Jacob Washington, even the forgotten recruit, I forgot to list him there, is coming in with those guys as well. And this season's just about plugging the gaps with those specialists. But like next season, McCulley, O'Leary, Simpson, who could be like the modern-day A.J. Henning, Eddie McDoom in this role. Charleston and Taylor are all gone. Just eligibility, and then maybe one that you transfers, and then next year the room is completely reset. It's reset with that high-end talent that you can really get behind, and that's how you keep a Bryce Underwood at Michigan as well.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there with the changing of the guard. And it seems pretty intentional just with the types of players that they're recruiting now versus who they were recruiting previously. Seems like a very intentional change. And this will be the last year it kind of looks like this, and that's why the transfer portal really great when you can identify a need and address it just in one offseason and bring in a ready-made option like McCulley. And may have to do it again next year because who knows if Marsh, Zion, Browder, like if that group's ready to contribute at that level. I think you and I are kind of leaning towards an Andy Marsh redshirt season. At least I am. We'll see. I mean, he's the one to really keep an eye on, though. Like, he could easily surpass some of these guys. It's just going to be getting that body ready for Big Ten play, I think. And then Jamar Browder, I'm also pretty high on. And like Jamar Browder, a guy we've heard some rumblings about, like, already, like, this guy could be a target. So I think that answers are coming. It's just a question of if those answers are ready to contribute this year or if we're really leaning on Donovan McCulley, Freddie Moore, and then hoping Samaj Morgan can get back into form. Like on that podcast last night, I was like, am I more excited about Jalen Hoffman or Samaj Morgan? Probably Jalen Hoffman this year as a receiving threat. I don't know where you stand on that, but like for this season.
I'm Samaj over Hoffman this season. Again, like I've been down on Samaj, but going back and watching some and just thinking about the way this offense is, like, tight end room could be a little tighter at the top already with Hanson, if you want to count Bredesen, Marlon Klein, and like how many times are they going to throw the ball at tight ends compared to some of these receivers this season? Just for reference, last season, our leading receiver was Tyler Morris, who led the room with 248 receiving yards, two receiving touchdowns, while Samaj led the room with 27 catches.
And now plays for St. Mary's, and nobody's ever heard of us, or somewhere on the East Coast. Like, I don't even know where Tyler Morris is.
He's in Indiana. He's actually out for the year. Blew out his knee.
Oh, that sucks. Well, now I feel like a dick. Sorry, Tyler Morris.
Good job by you.
Yeah. Just a bad person. Sorry. I can't keep up with all this.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, your Hoffman ones, I don't think it's far-fetched, though. I mean, we've talked about that. We saw him in the spring game, what he could do. He has that kind of ability. And I don't think there's, as much as I like McCulley, I don't think there's like a dominant Triple Crown winner. This guy's going to lead in catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns. I think it's going to be very spread out amongst the receivers and amongst the tight ends as well. And the running backs, because Chip Lindsey loves screens.
Mm-hmm. That's a big part of this, too. And I think Justice Haynes could be more valuable in that regard than he is even like just as a running back. I think he could be awesome there. And yeah, I agree. I think that it'll be spread around, so that's why the tight ends not going to change even under Chip Lindsey, that they're a huge part of the passing game. Do we have the answers there? Hogan Hansen, Marlon Klein, you mentioned those guys. Neither is Colston Loveland. Jalen Hoffman has an opportunity there to be like a true receiving threat. So that's a conversation for another day. But I tend to agree with you that there's not like that triple crown there. This is going to be spread out. They want to run the hell out of the ball and then just take the air out of it on defense. Like, it's going to be a lot of that, not because that's necessarily who Chip Lindsey is and what he eventually wants to be, because that's what the roster dictates right now as you're working in a true freshman quarterback, as you're kind of figuring out who some of these receivers are, as you're trying to get that identity that you can once again compete with the tops of the Big Ten. And I think that those guys are coming. We've mentioned those guys. Like, I am as high as I am in Indy Marsh. I think I'm higher on Zion Robinson, who will get here next year. Like, I'm already itching to talk about that guy. So, like, answers are coming. It's just, what does it look like this year? And I think that we're both on the same page that it's a little bit of receiving by committee.
Yeah, but again, compared to last season's room, I feel much better with where they're going. And so Ron Bellamy is the wide receivers coach, but the team also re-added Soup Campbell in the offseason. Eric Soup Campbell, as all Michigan fans know. What impact do you think he'll have on the room this year?
Well, it just adds to the tremendous name theory that we've got going on in Ann Arbor right now. If you're going to call yourself Soup Campbell, you better deliver. And I'm feeling pretty warm and hearty, much like a bowl of soup would do for me right about now, about him coming in and just being another voice in there. Like, we were very critical last year of the wide receiver coaching and of Kirk Campbell and the room in general, the guys that they had recruited. It was wide receivers and it was quarterbacks. We're just like, this isn't good enough for the Big Ten. Like, you've got to put a better unit on the field. So another voice in the room. He's had some success. I mean, he was there for Braylon Mario. Like,
he was the best receivers coach in Michigan history, dude. I'm a little more excited than like how you're selling this. I mean, he coached Braylon Edwards, Mario Manningham, David Terrell, Marquise Walker, Jason Avant, Ty Streets. Like, I mean, the guy got production from the position unlike any other receiver coach in Michigan history.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, these are all very true things. It's a different era. A lot of time has passed. Ron English, for a long time, was the best defensive coordinator at Michigan, and Ron English,
a long time.
Where's he at now?
How many points did he give up to Ohio State in the most important game of the year?
I understand.
39, and
Wink
Martindale gave up 10 with no offense.
I understand, but for a while that wasn't the conversation. So these things change. The eras change. All those guys you mentioned, very highly recruited. Pretty sure Braylon Edwards was a 5-star. Mario Manningham, those guys were all highly recruited. And, like, you know, we'll see what he can do with this year's group. I think I'm more excited about him working with the younger guys and, like, developing some of that up-and-coming talent. Like, that does excite me.
I just like having an adult in the room that knows what he's doing with coaching. Sure. Like, I like Bellamy. He's an elite recruiter, but similar to the offensive line, they brought in Juan Castillo to help out with Grant Newsome this year. Like, you just need somebody in there to help develop. Like, and Juan Castillo is so revered. Like, Oluwatimi's been at Michigan all summer just working with him. Like, Castillo has that kind of reputation, and I think Soup Campbell's bringing that to this room as well. Like, hey, he has that wealth of information, that experience. Like, hey, this is what I did for 10 years at Michigan and how I got the most out of the position, despite the team still being run heavy. This is how you have your impact in the blocking game. This is how you have the impact as receivers. Like, I just think having that experience is irreplaceable.
Yeah, and Sherrone Moore said, what's the best piece of advice you ever got from Jim Harbaugh? I think in that same interview, and he said, like, don't be afraid to make changes. Like, just because you've been doing something one way doesn't mean you can't change it up and do it a different way. Getting a contrary point of view, getting somebody else in there to look at things a little bit differently for a room that really needed to improve, which will take us into our next question. I think it's just overall a net positive there. So that takes us to our next question. Where do you think wide receiver room ranks as far as position groups that could improve the most? Does it have a chance to be the second most improved behind quarterback?
I think it has to be. But, I mean, these positions work in conjunction. Like, were the receivers so bad last year because the quarterback was bad? Or was the quarterback bad because the receivers were bad? And now where's the offensive line tie into that conversation? You know, all of these kind of work in conjunction together. And I think that's why we're kind of having this overarching conversation about each one taking steps and us, like, sharing nerves about how they're going to do it, where they're going to improve. Is it all going to be rising up together at the same time? Or is it going to be, you know, more realistic where, like, hey, this group's stepping up, but he's missing throws, or vice versa?
Yeah, I think it almost has to be just by, like, default, because it's not going to be anything on the defense. Like, that defense was elite and did everything that was asked of them last year. If you want to say, like, the secondary is nominally better, like they're somewhat better, that's one thing, but I think that this could be a dramatically improved room. It's not going to be tight ends. You don't lose Colston Loveland to get better. I hope it's the offensive line. Like, if you gave me my choice, I would say I would hope that it's the offensive line as the second most improved.
Because they make every offensive position better.
Exactly, and then that's just gonna reverberate throughout the rest of the team. But I think it's more likely that it's quarterback's most improved, receiver second most improved, and then hopefully the offensive line does improve and take some sort of step forward. And right now, that's how I'd guess if I had to predict it. But it's a discussion for sure.
Who was better against Alabama, the offensive line or the wide receivers?
I was kind of in on the offensive line.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Alabama.
And 4 of those 5 guys are back, so it's like
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't have to squint too hard to see it with some of those young guys like Lincoln Sprague and El Hadi coming back and playing a more natural position. I'm like, okay, I could see this taking the jump that we were waiting all season to do. But then receivers, it was just like they did what they could, like the Freddie Moore catch and touchdown, great call out. But what was the passing statistics from that game? Did we throw for like 63 yards or something?
Well, honestly, what's crazy is Davis Warren actually looked really good throwing the football early on, and then blew out his knee at the 11-minute mark in the third quarter. And then the offense tried to throw with Orgy for a few plays. He threw a pick, and then Sherrone was like, the hell with this. Let's see if they can beat us if we don't throw a pass. And we didn't throw another one, and we still won the game.
An unbelievable set of circumstances to win the ReliaQuest Bowl against Alabama last year. It was crazy. Leading receiver last year, you mentioned Tyler Morris, 248 yards receiving. Somebody might get that in a game this year.
Yeah, all right. Predictions. Who leads the team in receiving yards?
I'll go McCulley. I'll go 600 something, just under 700 yards receiving, something like that. Like some Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson type stats, something like that. Like what would normally be a number 2 year. I think that'll be our number 1, and then it'll just be spread out, a bunch of other guys.
I will go a little just different. I'll say Fred Moore because of just some of the deep balls, but I'll say McCulley leads in receptions because of what I described earlier with his possessive nature, the way he understands zones and everything.
I'll go Hogan Hansen leads in receptions.
Oh, we're just talking receiver room though,
Oh, if it's just receiver room, then then I'm with you. I was ready to come on board. I was hoping you might welcome me on your ship.
You're already on the ship. Brother, if I'm captain, you got to be first mate.
I'm first mate of that ship. Someone's got to be.
Got to have you on here with Hansen. Receiver-wise, and I guess for touchdowns, I would just lean McCulley because of the 6'5" frame and what he can do in the red zone.
Yeah, no, we agree there. More McCulley, I think we agree at 1 and 2. If someone else is going to pop from this group that we haven't really mentioned, could be one of the young guys. Any Imarian Stewart stock out there? If you sold it all,
I like he and Goodwin, and Goodwin's my guy. I think I would say Goodwin. Okay. I'm also not out on Kendrick Bell. Not
out on Kendrick Bell.
Lest we forget one of the most important plays last season, they ran a reverse pass with him throwing it against Ohio State. They trust him.
Yeah. Former quarterback, obviously the lineage. I'm a believer in the lineage, so I'm a believer in Kendrick Bell. And then the last piece of this here is the young guys, Andrew Marsh, Jacob Washington, Jamar Browder. We've done a freshman spotlight already on Andrew Marsh. Would encourage you to go check that out. Jamar Browder was getting the early hype there. Marsh a little higher recruited there. But guys that I really like, a little bit bigger. Marsh not huge, 6 foot, $175. That $175's really got to change if he wants to make an impact this year. But love what we're bringing in with this group of guys here. I think there could be some real dudes here.
And Jacob Washington as well. I feel like he kind of gets overlooked. I overlooked him when we were starting this exercise. Also a 3-star similar to Browder out of Louisiana. This trio feels very similar to DPJ, Tariq Black, Nico Collins in 2017. It just feels very on par with that group where I could see Browder and Marsh being the two guys that kind of ascend, with Washington filling that Tariq Black role, unfortunately. But you see the size and what they're doing in the room, and I like that. But it also makes me feel good about Goodwin and Stewart sticking it out because those feel like the future of the slot. You want your wide receiver room to look like a basketball team, and you need these guys that are talented and can get stuff done, in the slot, in the dirty, and mix it up. What I loved about Stewart and Goodwin last year is both preserved their red shirt, and both were also honored as either Scout Team Player of the Week, Stewart twice over, Goodwin once. So they're buying in, and they're busting ass in practice, and I think that's going to translate sooner than later.
And also, I would like to see this position group roll over and stay with Bryce Underwood, get a chance to develop and build that chemistry rather than having to come in and fill this in again next year with another transfer. And if we have to do that, fine, whatever. But I'd like to see all these guys stick around. I like Goodwin and the, if you're rolling out next year, Freddie Moore does have one more year, right? Or does he have to?
Yeah, I mean,
Freddie Moore,
Fred Moore, Samaj, Marsh, Browder, Washington, Goodwin, Stewart, Zion Robinson, just right there. That's elevated room.
It's another step up next year, and then you look like 2 years down the road, which is crazy to do at this point. But then all of a sudden, that's a pretty elite group.
Yeah,
actually, when you've got like year 3 Marsh, year 2 Zion. Who's the other kid that we just got too in the same class as Zion? It's like a Johnson or something like that. I know
Travis Johnson, 4-star receiver.
Travis Johnson.
Yeah,
exactly. So you look at that and really starting to build up some talent in the room. And it won't be at that super high level this year, but there's names. I'm way more excited about it. Having guys like Marsh and Browder in the back end of this that you're like, okay, maybe if all things go right this year, you see a little bit of them. That adds just a little bit more sauce to an already improving room. Yeah, I think this was a good conversation in the sense that I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic just talking it out.
Well, I mean, just think about like the power of continuity to your point, like with Roman Wilson. Like in 21, he goes from the deep ball specialist, like you see the big shot against Iowa in the Big Ten championship, for example. And then in 22, you see him slowly take another step. I mean, it's forgotten, but his game against TCU was outstanding. I mean, Roman Wilson went off, and that game would be remembered in lore if Michigan had won. And then in 2023, he had the best receiving season in the last 20 years. It was just dominant. I mean, ended up being the best season in the Harbaugh era for a wide receiver. Had the big catches, had the big plays, like had the touchdown number. So like having that continuity with a quarterback can help these guys develop because I mean it's the hardest thing to project and talk about development, especially like you're looking at star rankings and everything. But it exists. But it factors into that chemistry with the quarterback.
Great points, all of them. And yeah, how did we talk about Roman Wilson, pre-TCU? I mean, he was up and coming at that point, but now he's absolutely just in the Michigan lore at this point and considered an all-timer. So you absolutely don't know like who that person could be, and the longer you stick around, stick within the program, we've got our quarterback. That is the most important piece of this conversation. It's not even about the receivers. We have the quarterback to get these guys the ball now. So stick around, develop, work with Underwood. They've done a pretty good job recruiting, good job getting McCulley in the transfer portal. Reinforcements are surely on the way, so it's a room that's really trending in the right direction. I think this year it'll probably be pretty middling and is not going to wow anybody statistically, but it's dramatically improved, and like we were saying, probably the second most improved room.
Yeah, and not to mention, you talk about that room improving, you look at the offensive line that's improving, because if we think Sprague and Babalola have a chance to be out there, we could have 3 guys back on that offensive line next year with like improvements coming with Haywood or our boy the transfer Malachi Lee, or not the transfer, the recruit Malachi Lee coming in, like flexibility you're getting there. Like they're doing everything they can to elevate this offense around Bryce Underwood. And you were asked on the podcast, you were a guest on last night, like the worry about him transferring. It's like, brother, if he transfers, he transfers. But, like, Michigan is doing everything they can around him. They are not just dropping him on the Charlotte Hornets like, hey, go win games. Like, no, they are building up around him. Shots at the Hornets, catching strays. But just building up around him to have this offense not just set up for success this year, but for the long term.
Tremendous point. And, yeah, you start to see the bones of the next great Michigan offense really starting to take shape there, and some of these guys are going to be a part of that. So anything else on the receivers, brother?
No, but again, one of the rooms, like I said, like we talk about it, it's like you start seeing the potential there where it's a room like, okay, like it has its flaws, it has its shortcomings, but like you could get me excited. Like if there's a deep shot to Frederick Moore week 1 against New Mexico, which there probably will be because, brother, I know you haven't done it yet. That defense, abhorrent. I mean, repulsive. Like, it hurt me to watch them play defense. Like, there's going to be some opportunities for this unit to really get their feet wet before Oklahoma.
And then we're going to start talking real ridiculous once we start seeing it on the field and just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be out of pocket immediately once I see it.
Oh, 100. It's like when the JJ Hawaii game in 2022. Like,
Yes.
he threw that first touchdown, and you texted me, like, he's the guy. I was like, I have no notes. Like,
Yeah.
4 words, you had me. I was like, yeah, there's no argument here.
We're going to be in as Freddie Moore is the next Ty Streets, like within the first 13 minutes of the game. So can't wait.
We're going to have some crazy comps, talking outrageous. Man, I'm really excited for that.
Yep, looking forward to it as well. Some housekeeping. We are taking not a break next week. We're doing one for us. We're doing a movie. One perfect film. We've done one before. We did the 1999 cinematic masterpiece, The Mummy, starring Brendan Fraser. Did that last year. This year, can we go ahead and release what we will be discussing?
Tell the people.
Find that man. Find that man. We're doing The Fugitive, baby. An absolute all-timer. Tommy Lee Jones, Harrison Ford, a two-hander, peak of their powers. I can't wait.
Yeah, dude, you got to send me the categories again because I've lost them somewhere. I need those because I need at least 2 watches this week. You know, I'm a film grinder.
Yeah.
Like, I need at least 2. I might go 3. Might have to push back some, 86 tape. But like, oh man, I love The Fugitive. It's just, we'll get into it next week. But like, there's just so much to love in this movie, and it has such like a special like spot like in our relationship as friends. Like just random Sam Gerard references and everything else.
Yes.
Like, oh, it's just such a good movie.
This was the one. It was between this, Jurassic Park, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, 3 movies that we love all of them. But this, I think, was the right one, considering how many gifs I've sent you of Sam Gerard.
Also, like,
the pot is ready.
You're going to have to like put me in a straitjacket to prevent me from like talking about U.S. Marshals too much. Like a far inferior movie, but God, do I love it.
Hilarious. Yeah, same here. Absolutely. And we will. Can't wait for that. So that's next week. And then following that, it's officially time to start breaking down opponents. We're going to keep going on the position previews. Might have to like shorten them up a little bit because we're really starting to get into the meat of things. But we're going to get through everything. And then, come about the week before, 2 weeks before, we'll probably go to 2 a week.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Like once we get into August, as soon as I see one leaf change color, it's over. I'm going to be out of pocket.
Yeah, in 2 weeks we got the robust Big Ten over-unders, which we started doing last year, which is so much fun. More of just an overview of the Big Ten. Like we'll go in depth on opponents later on. Like that'll start the following week. But yeah, we'll finish out those position previews. I'm excited to get through those. But yeah, dude, hell, it might be 3 pods a week if we do live reactions after games this year too.
Very well could be. Don't threaten me with a good time. I am looking forward to it. The closer we get to this season, the more excited I am about this team. I think I'm more excited about this team than I was last year's just because there's some answers. You know, we've got some options, whereas last year it was like we had the natty glow on us.
We had confetti
Like,
still on us.
Exactly. Like what actually happened on the field was secondary to the fact that we were just going to enjoy our season. I think this year I'm like, no, this team's got some juice, and it's got to too. Like Sherrone Moore, big season for him, big season for this coaching staff. So can't wait. It gets official, but next week The Fugitive, and then after that the content hose will overfloweth. Thank you to producer Tony. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever. Follow us on all our socials, YouTube, TikTok if you're so inclined. We're on Instagram, Out of the Blue Sports, OOTB Sports. I'm Jared. That's Andy. This is Out of the Blue. We'd like to remind you that wherever you go, go blue.